welcome back to my channel. So today I bring you my second solo. It's my favorite season. I don't even think it's really a season, but it's jacket season, you guys. So I thought this would be the perfect time to give you guys the solo along that I promised you. Well, not the solo along. I promised you one of the solo alongs I promised you. Today we're going to be doing the Burda 7142. So you guys already know how I do. I'm going to go ahead and add one of those little things over here so you can see it up close. And yeah, let's get started. Okay guys, so now that we are here, we have our pattern 7142. So as always, when you turn it to the back, you have your measurements, your yardage for fabric, as well as suggested fabrics and all your notions for this particular pattern. We'll just need buttons and zippers. Today we're going to be working on view A with a few variations. What I'm going to do is switch out the front pockets that we see on view A on top of the jacket for view B pockets with the flap in the inside pockets. Yeah, so the reason why we're going to be doing that is because when I went to go cut out my pattern, I didn't have enough fabric. So what we're going to do is color block this jacket in plaid, and which you'll see in the next clip as I show you all the pattern pieces we're going to need for this sewing along today. Okay, so the pattern pieces we are going to need, and as I stated earlier, I did go ahead and cut out my fabric already. I didn't have enough fabric. I didn't want to embarrass myself on camera, so I went ahead and just pre-cut everything. So pattern piece number 12, this is our flap. This is the pattern piece for view B that we're going to use for our pockets that we're going to switch out. We're going to need pattern piece number 14, our pocket pouch. This is also a pattern B piece, so we're going to just set that aside. Then we're going to need our pattern piece number 4, which will be our sleeve front. We're going to cut that out of our fabric. That's 2 out of fabric. As well as our pocket, we're going to go back because I should explain this. We're going to go ahead and cut 2 out of fabric and 2 out of lining. I just cut all of my fabric pieces for my pocket. As well as our flap, we're going to cut 4. I cut it out of my contrasting fabric, which is going to be the front of my jacket. We're also going to need our back facing, which is pattern piece number 10. We're going to cut this on the fold. Then we have pattern piece number 6, which is our under collar. We're going to cut 1 on the fold. We also have pattern piece number 1, which is our front. We're going to cut this out of 2. Now you see that here, this is where we're going to be placing our pocket for A instead of the pocket placement we have down here, which is here. We're going to go ahead and switch out our pocket A for our pocket B. We're going to go ahead and transfer all of our marks and notches before we remove these pieces off of the fabric. So this is actually pattern piece number 3. You guys can't see it because it's actually cut on the wrong side. We're just going to cut 2 of these out of our fabric. We also have pattern piece number 9, which is our front facing. We're going to cut this twice out of fabric. I don't know why I said that. like that. Pattern piece number 5, which is our sleeve back. We're gonna cut 2 out of fabric. Okay guys, so I did want to speak on the lining of this jacket. It's really interesting because this jacket is only lined at the top half of the jacket as well as the sleeves. So you have like a 3/4 line back piece, which is going to be really cool to sew. So I'm really excited to see how that sews up. So this is pattern piece number 20, which is our back lining. We also have pattern piece number 19, which is our front lining. We have pattern piece number 7, which is our collar band. We're gonna cut 2 out of fabric. And then we have our last and final piece, which would be our upper collar, which is pattern piece number 8. We're gonna cut 1 on the fold. So you guys go ahead and get your pattern pieces cut out of all your fabric and your lining and come back and we can get sewing. Okay, so now that we have all our fabric cut out, this pattern is really big on its instructions. So please make sure you read through all of the instructions before you get started. But being that I'm going to walk you through it, you won't have to do so. So we're going to start at the center back seam. So what they want you to do is go ahead and just stitch the back of this jacket all the way down and press your seams open. Being that the jacket isn't going to be wide all the way down, okay, I found my bias tape. So what I'm going to do before I finish these edges, well, sew them together, I'm going to go ahead and put bias tape on the edges, the raw edges of my jacket, and then stitch it using the 5/8 seam allowance, and then we're going to come back. Okay guys, so now that we have our back seams all stitched, I went ahead and placed the bias tape that I thought I lost on my raw edges, and I'm pretty in love with the seam, the way it looks. So now we're gonna go ahead and grab our tab pieces for our pocket flap, so which is our flap pieces actually, and we're gonna go ahead and work on the front pockets for our jacket. This is only because we're changing out the A pockets for the B pockets. So let me go grab my tabs and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so being that I'm going to be doing the B pockets, I grabbed my pocket flaps. So what I'm going to do now is with right sides together, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 of my flap pieces. Then I'm going to sew up my side edge across this edge and along down this side edge using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim my seam and my corners. I think I'm going to go ahead and serge and top stitch that. So once you go ahead and do that, come back. Okay guys, so now that we have both of our pocket flaps sewn, turn to the right side and press. I didn't top stitch my pocket flaps because I want everything to look as clean as possible. So what we're going to do now is work on our front pieces. I went ahead and, this jacket is really long, so I went ahead and marked where I'm going to be placing my flap, which is on the top line, as well as this pattern piece 13, which would be our piping. I'm not really too sure what piping they're talking about, So what I did was just cut another piece of fabric that I'm going to use for the back of the jacket, as well as some of the lining, and I'm going to use it as my piping. From looks of the directions, it just looks like you're going to use this as if you had another welt. So we're going to go ahead and attach both our flaps to our jacket fronts. Okay guys, so as you can see from the time lapse that I'm going to provide on the side of the screen, I went ahead and attached my pocket flap and the fabric boning that I'm going to use as instructed as in the instructions. Now what we're going to do is just go ahead and sew our flap down and our boning using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance and come back. Okay, so as you guys seen, I went ahead and attached my flap and my fabric boning. So what we're going to do now is slash in between our flap and our boning. We're going to turn our boning to the inside and then top stitch the boning down and then come back. Okay guys, so from the time lapse we see how I turned in our piping, and then we went ahead and basted the piping down to the inside. So now what we want to do is go ahead and turn this over, and what you want to do is attach one of your pocket lining. Give me 1 second. What you want to do is go ahead and attach your pocket lining, making sure that it is all attached to your pocket piping. What we're going to do is go ahead and pin this down and then sew that to our pocket piping, and then we're gonna go ahead, that's the tongue twister, pocket piping, whatever guys. So we're gonna go ahead and pin this down, do the same thing to our other side. We're gonna go ahead and stitch this down using a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then we're gonna go ahead and come back. Okay, so now that we attached our pocket lining, so we were supposed to just overlap this, and then where we have this stitching line here, we were supposed to, well, what we're going to do now is turn this pocket down, keeping it towards our upper jacket. We're going to go ahead and catch that pocket lining within this line. So once we do that, our pocket lining should be about yay. That should be like an inch almost. So when we place this over and sew across here, we'll be able to sew all along our pocket, attaching our pocket to our jacket front. So what we're gonna do now is turn our pocket up on both sides, make sure everything is flat. Then we're just gonna go ahead and sew on that same line that we had basted down our boning and attach our pocket lining to our jacket and come back. Okay guys, so now that we have our pocket lining attached to our jacket front, what we're going to do now is go ahead and attach our pocket to our pocket lining, so we will fully have our jacket attached to our pocket. So what we're going to do now is take out these pins that we had helping us keep everything straight. So everything should look like this on the inside. So what we're gonna do now is go ahead and, like I stated, everything should match up now. We're gonna go ahead and turn this up. Yep, we're gonna go ahead and turn this up and pin this. Then we're gonna pin this all around, sew all around, and come back. Okay guys, so now that we have our pocket attached to our jacket front, it should look a little something like this. So what I'm gonna do is, before I attach my fronts and backs together in my sleeves, I'm gonna go ahead and just top stitch this down so we can just encase this raw edge here so we don't see all of this. And then I think I was supposed to turn it up when I actually did it, but I didn't. So what we're gonna do is fix it here and top stitch it on here. But the next step is we're gonna go ahead and grab our sleeves, our front and back, and attach our sleeves. Okay guys, so we're supposed to be working on our sleeves. So I went ahead and attached my front and back sleeves at the armholes, which I don't really know why I did it, but I did it. And come to find out, I was just supposed to be attaching my back piece, my back sleeve to my back piece, which makes sense. So being that I messed up and already trimmed off my 5/8 of an inch, well, not 5/8, most of my 5/8, here is where I stopped serging. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and base a 5/8 of an inch so I'll know where my seam is, and then I'm going to place these dots on that seam, and then I'm just going to go ahead and run it through the serger so we can get the same amount. I did the other side, the front sleeve as well, so we're going to do the same thing to the front and pin it to the front and then come back. But I'm going to show you guys some time lapse of how I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay guys, so as you can see, I went ahead and fixed my mistake that I made by attaching the sleeves together instead of attaching the sleeves to the proper pieces. So I went ahead and attached my back pieces, my back sleeves to my back, as well as my sleeve to my front pieces. So now the next step for me to do is go ahead and lay my front pieces on top of my back, matching all of my seams, my armholes, as well as the upper edge of the sleeve to the jacket. We're gonna go ahead and do that, and we're gonna come back. What I'm gonna do before I do all of that is go ahead and top stitch this, as I said. Before I go ahead and add this to the back, I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch the pocket down, and then we're gonna come back. Okay guys, so as you can see from that time lapse, I went ahead and attached my sleeve, tried to re-thread my serger and all that hot mess, but we went ahead and I added extra pockets because I am a pockets person, so I made extra pockets. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and grab our facing pieces to work on our facing and come back. Okay guys, so now that we have our facings pieces and our back facing pieces, what we're going to do with right sides together, we're going to go ahead and attach our facings to our back facings with right sides together. We're going to pin this, then we're going to sew across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance and press open our seams. I'm going to go ahead and serge mine. So let me go ahead and sew this together and come back. Okay, so now that we have our facing and our back facings attached together, we're going to set this aside and we're going to grab one of our collar bands and we're going to grab our under collar. So what we want to do now is pin our collar band to our under collar. So we're both sides facing. We are going to, it looks like attach this bottom edge to this bottom edge and sew all the way around and come back. Okay guys, so now that we have our under collar attached, to one side of our neckband, we're gonna go ahead and attach the neckband to our upper collar in the same manner. So just to show you guys one more time, this will be our upper collar. We have our collar band. And we're going to take our curved edge and apply it as we did our under collar and come back. Okay you guys, so I went ahead and pinned my neckband and my under collar to my jacket. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and sew from this end all the way to this end using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then we're going to come back and continue. Okay guys, now that we have our neckband and our under collar attached to our jacket, now what we're going to do is attach our facing and the collar in the same manner, and then attach our facing at the collar. So the under collar and upper collar will be attached, and then the side facing will be attached along the front edge. So I'm gonna go ahead and pin that. I'm gonna sew along my front edge. At the bottom, you're gonna go ahead and sew in your 5/8 of an inch seam allowance down here. So when you go ahead and turn this over, your hem will be created where you're going to hem the jacket. So let me go ahead and do that and come back. Okay guys, so now that we have the collar and our facings attached to our jacket, what we're going to do is clip our edges and turn everything to the inside and give it a good press and come back. Okay guys, so I went ahead and attached my facing to my jacket. I also turned up my hem. So I went ahead and just turned up the hem, finished the inside and pressed it. Top stitched the thing, the bottom edge, as well as pressed my front and my collar. So now what we're gonna do is go ahead and grab our lining pieces and come back. Okay, working on our back lining pieces. So what we're gonna do first is go ahead and make our pleat and our back. Then we're gonna sew our backs together using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. At the center back, press that open, press our pleat to our right or left side, whichever one you prefer. Press the seam open and come back. Okay, so now that we have our back lining pieces all attached, I went ahead and serged mine. So what we're gonna do now is attach our back lining pieces to our back. So with right sides facing, sorry, I'm just trying to get my piece off this pattern paper because we are doing this all along. So what we're gonna do now is go ahead and pin our back sleeves to our back. Pin our backs to our back sleeves, and then we're going to come back. Okay guys, so now that we have our back sleeves attached to our back lining, what we're going to do now is attach our front sleeves at the shoulders and pin, and then once we do that, we're gonna go ahead and attach our lining pieces to our armhole. Once we do that, you're gonna come back and we're gonna go ahead and attach our lining to our jacket. Okay guys, so now that we have our lining all attached together, I went ahead and finished my sleeves as well. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and grab our coat and attach our lining. So go get your coat and come back. Okay guys, so it looks like we're going to be attaching our lining to our facing, well, our back facing and our facing. So what I'm going to do is put my right sides together and slip in my sleeve lining. So I can push this sleeve through this lining and start attaching my, yeah, so we're gonna start attaching, wrong way you guys. Okay, so right side's facing, we're gonna go ahead and attach our lining to our jacket, and I'm gonna go ahead and pin that together in a time lapse and come back. Okay guys, so now that we have our lining attached to our jacket, the only thing left to do now is to finish up the hem and attach it to our sleeve, so when we put on the jacket it's not sliding in and out. What I'm going to do is go ahead and serge this bottom edge of the lining so the raw edges isn't like this, and work our buttonholes on our left hand side. I'm gonna go ahead and do the buttonholes and stuff like that in the time lapse, and then we're gonna come back after we finish putting in our buttonholes. We're gonna make some fabric buttons, and then I'm gonna just put on this jacket so you guys can get an idea. It's super big, but I really want to get this video out to you guys, so I'm not gonna try to do this like whole elaborate ending. I'm just gonna show you guys the finished product of the jacket when I finish putting on my buttons and stuff like that. So let me go ahead and switch over to time lapse, put in my buttonholes, excuse me, come back, make fabric buttons, and then we'll be all set. Yeah, so let me go do that and come back. Okay guys, so you have it, the jacket all completed and sewn together. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with the lint roller, and that's that. We have the jacket all completed and sewn. I think it came out really nice. I wish I was able to show you guys on a person, but like I stated before, I want to get this video out to you guys. So here you have it. Let me turn the camera around and talk to you guys. Okay you guys, there you have it, the Burda 7142 jacket BA all sewn together. I think it came out amazing. I can't wait for it to actually go out into the world and get some compliments. But there you have it, jacket all sewn. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. If you like this video, make sure you go ahead and give it a thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe, even if you didn't like the video, but it also helps. I want to thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.